Hello, hello, hello. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody, wherever you are in the world. Today, we have a webinar in collaboration with Cvent, who is a PATA event tech partner. And we're going to be talking about the 2024 event landscape, insights, and future trends. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I do see a lot of familiar names in the attendee list, so I'm really glad to have you joining us. I'm Alethea. I'm the head of member engagement at PATA, and I'm honored to be your host for today. So as we navigate 2024, event and marketing professionals are feeling very optimistic, but there's still a bit of lingering questions here and there and about what the rest of the year holds for us. For example, will costs come down? Will budgets loosen up? And how are the successful teams navigating a lot of rising attendee expectations? So we're going to unpack all of this today in the webinar, and Cvent will be sharing some key trends that are shaping events in 2024. So before I begin, I do want to start with a couple of housekeeping announcements. So please ask your questions in the Q&A function, not in the chat function. So after the presentation, there is going to be time set aside for Q&A. So for all your questions, please do let us know in the Q&A. If you leave your question in chat, there's a high possibility we're not going to see it because we'll only be looking at the Q&A panel during Q&A. And the chat, of course, is for you to really introduce yourselves, have conversation with other webinar attendees, and more. So feel free to use both functions, but remember, questions in the Q&A function, please. Now, for our opening remarks today, to officially open the webinar for us, I want to warmly welcome PATA Chief of Staff, Mr. Paul Puramkan, to the stage, please. Paul.
Alethea, thank you very much for that introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone here joining today's webinar on the 2024 event landscape, insights, and future trends. Well, as we're all looking towards the recovery of the travel and tourism industry, we're all looking for resilient, sustainable, and of course, robust recovery. It's important to always recognize events plays an integral part of that recovery. So today's webinar hopefully will give you some insights into the future trends of the event landscape and how all of us can navigate that moving forward. As always, I'd like to thank the event tech partner, Cvent, for helping us organize today's webinar. And as always, I'd like to always thank our PATA Executive Board, our PATA Board members, our Life members, our chapter members, our partners for the continued support for the association, without which none of this would be possible. And last but not least, I'd like to thank all of you for joining today's webinar. I hope you do find today's presentation useful for your strategic plan moving forward, and enjoy today's webinar. Thank you, and back over to you, Alethea.
Thank you, Paul, for the opening remarks. We really appreciate it. So next, I am going to introduce to you our expert speaker for today, Harsha Hariharan, Regional Sales Director, Event Solutions of Cvent. Now, a little bit about Harsha. Harsha moved to Asia in 2011, and he has amassed over 11 years of event technology experience. Interestingly enough, he was the very first hire at the Cvent Singapore office all the way back in 2016. And today, he is now the Regional Sales Director. He's leading new business acquisition and expansion across ASEAN markets, including Japan and South Korea. So Harsha, thank you very much for being here with us today, and over to you.
Thanks to the team at PATA, and really appreciate the opportunity to share some of the insights that we've gained. I'm looking forward to the real challenge I'm going to face today. Is the normal presentation I do has 80 to 90 slides, and since it's an afternoon meeting, we want to give you just some bite-sized stuff that you can take away to your organization. Some things will be familiar. Hopefully there's a couple of at least new things that you can bring to your organization or for consideration. So let me start sharing my screen, and we can go through the presentation that we put together. Fantastic. Just a quick thumbs up from Alethea. Can you see see the presentation? Fantastic. Okay, good. Let's go.
And everything.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gents, I've got half of my introduction was right there. Just to build up on top of it, I moved to Asia, yes, 11 years ago, and as the first employee, I moved here for love, not really for events, but it's really got its hooks into me, and helping clients all across ASEAN is something that I've been doing. So first rep, I think, to cover 500 events. So hopefully I should have some answers for you in the Q&A if there's something that we don't cover in today's session. Thank you. So ladies and gents, Cvent has been in business for over 25 years, and as a technology company exclusively servicing meetings, events, and corporate travel, one of the things that we always like to do is keep our finger on the pulse. So we're not going to learn much when I'm speaking only. We also want to get your feedback about what you're experiencing in the market and some unique challenges specifically to the Asia Pacific business. What we've done today is we do a survey every year to our thousands of customers, and then we also combine it with our local knowledge in market. These are the top 6 trends that we think are something that you should have on your dashboard, something for your consideration to factor in. So for different parts of the world are experiencing different, obviously, returns to event activity. Here in Asia, I'm proud to say, and where I'm based in Singapore at the moment, it's absolutely booming. So one of the things we're going to talk about is the impact of in-person events, the things that we all love arranging, but also some elements where virtual is still playing a key part. We've learned a whole bunch of new skills over the last few years in running virtual events and some hybrid events. So don't let those go to waste. As well, really thinking about things from strategies that you can use from virtual and bring them into your in-person component. Now, as we kind of move through, really thinking about what participants want when they come back into your events, right? You're competing always for people's attention. So attendees' expectations have really spiked. So they're looking at more things like, how do you do more immersive experience? How do you get the best speakers? How do you look at formats so that they're more tailored specific offerings for the markets? If you can factor those kinds of things in, whether the budget allows for it or not, you're going to be able to have much more engaged participants, more repeat attendees, so better adoption of the messaging that you're putting together. Maybe it comes down to like designing exciting breakout sessions or different formats. Maybe it's leveraging on demand or even pre-demand, something which I'll touch on if we get time later today. And let's not also forget about everyone has gone through a massive incident, with COVID. So thinking about well-being, thinking about what participants' expectations are really going to help you. Things like self-care and comfort, these are things that are going to factor in as well. We do have a lot to cover, but then also factoring in new technologies even within the event space are here. So how can you benefit? How does your organization, how does your events really capture or jump onto the ahead of the wave, in essence, for this AI boom that's happening? So I'm going to show you some real examples. Some of them are from other events. I was just in Paris and London about 10 days ago. I saw some things which made me very envious. So I've pushed them to our marketing team and our technology team to see if we can incorporate ideas like that. But thinking of AI as maybe part of like an assistance program for yourself, or maybe helping you craft new content. So there's all kinds of new things that are available. Cvent, as a pioneer in this space in technology, has got some really useful utilities that we can show you, not to replace the human experience, but really much more to make our jobs less stressful and more effective. Okay, so moving into the back second half of the kind of big trends is venues are popping up all over the world. Right, what I cover later on today is for those of you outside of Singapore, but I'm sure if you look around your own cities, you'll see that new hotels that were delayed to come online during COVID are now in full swing. It's busy. So what are the tools and technologies that you've got that you can leverage specifically to work better and more collaboratively with venues? So that could be maybe negotiating amenities, better audio-visual equipment. People are starting to realize the benefits of not just picking up the phone, but using technology to even start a competitive RFP process, room block management, all the challenging stuff, start considering using technology. Now, for the fifth big trend that we've seen here is that being more inclusive, how we can help technology for people with say disabilities, or how can we factor in sustainability, and how technology will help you achieve those goals. There was some great recent event that I just spoke at 3-4 days ago, and some great studies right here in Singapore, which will show you how to build frameworks, and we may be able to touch on those, but Go Green initiatives, removing single-use plastic. I'm also wearing a special type of badge we've developed right here in the Singapore market, which I'll show you as well. Even things like sourcing food, ensuring that your events are inclusive and accessible to all. Your attendees will appreciate it, and it's also just good business. And if that isn't enough value, let's talk about the holy grail. The kind of final part of it is really things like cost control, things like how do you generate a return of investment in a super competitive environment where costs are going up. Costs are always seeming to edge up, and events people are always under these challenges. So I'm going to show you some ideas that we've got, and also tools that you can do to help you make those events more cost effective. So as we jump into the process, let's try and expand on some of these 6 trends. So first of all, I built my career, first of all, doing in-person events. That's where our bread and butter as a business is, when we founded in 1999. So if you can see on the statistics that we've got here, based on a survey across over 20,000 Cvent customers, you can see 3/4 of the market, are doing in-person events, and they're back. And I'm sure you felt that in the market. Different territories will have different priorities, but where people are using virtual was even a surprise use case to ourselves. Some of the things and some use cases that I can give you is people are using virtual events to build up the momentum before their flagship event. So they're running a series of micro activations, using seamless technology to basically manage each week an activation to get up those attendee numbers. Because so much resources is aligned on your flagship event, maybe a bit of a warm-up exercise. You see it at rock concerts, they don't just start with the star of the show, they bring in a couple of smaller acts to get people enthusiastic. Same thing with virtual. We're seeing people do pre-event virtual activations to build up to their in-person event, so people have got a little taste of what's available from there. And some other statistics here as well, is just to benchmark this, is really this is more predominantly in Australia than what we've noticed. But it's one thing to have like a plan to do hybrid, but do you have infrastructure in your countries? Are there enough expertise domestically? Is it something you want to take a risk on, or is there better use of your budget? So from looking at the splits here, is what we're seeing is people are much more engaged with thinking, how do we have a multi-format mix? Maybe smaller scale events more frequent, maybe one big flagship event with that virtual component, but to enable to execute those things so that you can choose independently of format. This is something that we've been developing. So for those of you who don't know, really, it's something that we pioneered in the market to help organizers who have this kind of ability to dance and be able to do any type of event. We developed something specifically, it started in Asia actually, called TEP, or Total Events Program. This is like a strategic framework or a thinking of how to go to market in the post-COVID world. So before, you'd have one system for webinar, one system for in-person, you'd have an event agency, you'd find venues, you are busy, right? But just think of it this way. If 50% of your time is spent getting participants, finding a venue, managing budgets, sourcing AV vendors, and the other 50% of your time is actually managing those processes versus getting it and managing it, who's going to be spending time growing the business? Who's going to be spending time helping you achieve your kind of outcomes from the event? So what Cvent has been doing is, instead of having separate systems, we've really been thinking, right, how do you plan your internal events, your sales kickoffs, your roadshows, your training programs? Why have a separate system when you can have one? That one system can then help you, assist you with things like your user conference, your annual seminars, even cool webinars like this. So what technology is able to do in modifying, instead of having 10 different systems, you have a one vendor approach, one throat to choke, but also easier to go to market. Let's say the format changes, or let's say there's a freak weather condition, you can just quickly pivot to virtual without having to challenge your learning curve. It's a smart way to offset risk. It's a great way to start thinking about how you manage your kind of a mix of events, virtual and in person. Now, just to let you know, right before COVID as well, I'll try not to keep saying that phrase, but in 2019, I was lucky to speak at an event in South Korea, and I saw robots serving ice cream, right? I saw some technology tools that haven't even been adopted to this day. And that's the great thing. There's so many technology vendors, so many creative companies that are out there now that are part of our ecosystem. So instead of having a stock standard, kind of a reporting process for your events, attendees expect more. So what can we give them, right? So looking at some of the studies from Freeman, they're saying on average, you can see 64% of attendees are citing, we want to give up our time in exchange for an immersive experience, right? That's our primary, differentiator of whether we choose to come to events. This is closely followed by, I won't put all the stats on here, but 45% of people saying they want a customized agenda. Sometimes when you go to events, and sometimes when we go to other people's events, it's just very linear. It feels like 20, 30% of what is being spoke at is relevant. The rest is neither here nor there. So giving people smart management of their time, customized agenda, and then leveraging smart technology was a close 44%. So if you are driving events that have a business purpose and an outcome with a real focus on immersion, giving people customized and personalized agenda, and giving them expected technology, right, you'll be able to engage them in a much more kind of proactive way. These are the big things that they're feeding back to us. Now, as planners, we have 50 other jobs as well, right? So prioritizing the audience is never a bad idea. So what are their desired outcomes? Do a pre-event survey as you'd expect, but tying it in together with technology is a new way to make it a two-way communication. So before the event, you've got a nice kind of overlay of what they're actually interested in, which sessions are most popular, so you can help them facilitate those meaningful connections. Now, just bear with me. Tailored content is not easy to pull off, right? It requires thought process. It requires, thinking out of what are people not seen already, what would be of use to them. And then also thinking about breakout sessions, right? So instead of just, even if it's not part of your main format, giving people an opportunity to say, hey, maybe there's a small 12, 20 person group there that's taking place that can give me something really memorable that I can take back to my organization. And I do want to talk to you about on-demand access. This is one of the most underutilized systems that are in place. What on-demand meant, let's say pre-Cvent, was where people just put the videos and their photos on a Instagram or on a YouTube or a video platform, and then they disappear there and nobody knows what happens, or do people rewatch it. What we've thought about as part of that TEP structure is thinking pre-event, during, and post-event. So instead of separate systems that don't talk to each other, having a unified go-to-market for one event, for 100 events, allows you to have standardization. This is what's going to unlock that engagement process. And everything I'm showing you on here is what we do at our events. I won't hijack Partha's event. Cvent is hosting an event in the middle of the year here in Singapore. Happy to extend an invite to those of you. But we're using this kind of process so that we get people, give them a little bit of information through personalization, help them build out a customized schedule pre-event, send them video collateral content, even use smart AI, which I'll save for later, to give recommendations. But then in the build up to the event on the day, we want to be independent of device. So if they want to use their own smartphone, they can. If they want to use web-based or browser, it's all good. What this allows you to do is see what is working and what isn't. What are they engaged in and what they're not engaged in. And there's no losses, ladies and gentlemen. If you are considering technology, it's not too heavily on product, I hope, but we're fighting for people's attention. If you do an event and 100 people come and 20 of them use their technology and 80 of them don't, that is a successful outcome. It means that 20% of people got what they wanted, and 80% of people were more focused on in-person handshakes and physical outcomes, which can be tracked in a different way. So start thinking pre-event activation, during event, and then post-event on-demand access. Instead of letting the content be stationary, it can be embedded directly into the mobile app, so they can rewatch the video content, indicate which products they're interested in of yours, and then even download brochures and collateral to get them primed for the next event that you're doing. It's about keeping them in your ecosystem. Moving through, this is the kind of big topic that I think, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more questions at the end. And I've got some great, some studies and even some products. I won't say from which vendors, but really exciting stuff around artificial intelligence. Now, a couple of years ago, this word was seen as like a myth. Now it's front and center in everything. Some of the biggest companies in the world have, been formed by and increased their market capital by harnessing this. The events industry can easily be reactive, but what we've seen is the amount of innovation and number of companies that have sprung up to be part of, say, Cvent's ecosystem and other vendors as well. It has the ability to automate a lot of process operationally, has the ability to analyze large amounts of information that you may not want to do, and even streamline operations. But it needs a person running it in your organization. And I've got some great use cases which will show you. Now, at certain times when you say, like, when teams are being required to do more with less, I think using smart tools, and we've got some fantastic things that all event planners can benefit from, right? So just to give you a quick example here is, it's a tool, right? It can assist you with, question and answering sessions. If you're thinking about what schedules to do in, even if you just open up your WhatsApp and you go into Meta AI and you start typing in questions, specifically around the events industry, you'll get, say, 10 answers they'll give you, right? You'll see 2 of them are completely not relevant for your organization. 6 or 7 of them are viable. And the others are absolutely critical where you think I could implement that straight away. So once knowing that information, have an experimental culture. what we've done is some of the things that we've done to kind of distinguish between prioritizing data security and also fact checking information is let's think about things from a planner's perspective, right? Coming up with people come to events for two big reasons. One is the content. The other is the ability to network. Content so they can take the new ideas and bring them to the organization, share them with their friends, and also networking because what are your peers up to, what's working there, maybe future job opportunities. So if we can help technology that achieves better content adoption and also better networking for the audience and the participants, those are win-wins for them. More likely they'll come back to your event. So we've developed smart AI writing assistants. I don't like writing emails. I'm not the best at it, even though I got a good grades in the English literature in school back in the day. Use the latest tools for this. So you can start writing website copy. You can start writing email copy. You can start writing mobile app content specifically through our AI that's integrated with our system. This is one of the most popular features we've done because the input interface is so straightforward for the audience. So you can see on here is if there's a multi-day agenda or so many different breakout rooms, how do you filter the best content up? How do you give the correct recommendations based on the participant information? How do you do that matchmaking? So humans can only make X number of decisions, right? Effectively, after a while, it'll taper off. The machines don't get tired. So getting recommended to which specific sessions are there, who are the other people that are coming to those sessions, may be leading to matchmaking opportunities. You can then give them, hey guys, this is a relevant match for yourself. So when you see these large scale events, and I was just at the meeting show recently, and they were doing some incredible things with a different vendor, but a lot of the familiarity really spoke to me was, what do the people want to get out of this? Right? They want to have that ability to have maybe a handful of meetings that lead to a business outcome or a business relationship in the future. Also reconnect with participants. So prioritizing your time, scheduling an appointment directly through the mobile app or adding them as a contact to the user so you don't have to add things to WhatsApp, less friction, even as basic messaging. So all the tools are available, but all the data then flows back to you as an organizer. Now you can't read their messages, but what you can do is start leveraging technology if you're using a CRM, if you're using a marketing automation system. I can tell you when I was running around the back streets of Telok Ayer here in Singapore in 2013, explaining the benefits of event technology, this was not on the radar. It was at that time just managing RSVP. Now, understanding a 360 view of your audience, what events they've attended, what feedback they gave, which sessions they were going for, which sessions they couldn't make it to. All of that crunching is where AI and recommendations will help you with your future planning for your events. So at the 50% point, I do want to be respectful of time. This is like a really big one for myself. We've got ever increasing workloads, right? As planners, people sourcing, it may be one event, it may be a meetings planner where they do on average 10 to 12 events through the year. Ever increasing workload. How can technology come in to help you source and negotiate rates with suppliers and venues? No matter how brilliant a network you are, no matter how many people you know in the industry, there are tools now in place that are so refined that can give you access to what the venue looks like. For example, before you go there and do the site recce, how many people are interested in that space, what room block management opportunities there are, all the stuff that we're doing, but all good with a little bit of smart technology to help you in essence be like two people, so you can get twice as much done. So now it's hard to get management to pay for you to streamline your productivity, right? So these are tools that are just part of your toolkit. A doctor has a medical bag, an event planner should have technology and hard work as you'd expect. So seamless communication is something that's going to be really important. I'm going to show you some tools that we've developed. Now, just to give you some statistics, just to show you how powerful this is. I gave a presentation at the meeting show a couple of days ago, and they asked us for statistics just on Asia and on China and the impact of how things are in terms of this part of the world. So we've developed something called the Cvent Supplier Network, which is the largest network in the world of venues, convention bureaus, and spaces. Just high-level statistics. Just post-COVID, there's been a 60% increase in new planners that are leveraging our sourcing just in the EMEA region. And where do they want to put their events, right? There's different challenges in EMEA with conflicts, as we know, but the inbound benefit for Asia has never been seen like this before. Just last year, 8,780 RFP businesses were awarded through our Cvent Supplier Network just in Asia, right? The average size of those specific meetings, not maybe large-scale events, was about 38,000 US, right? So we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars right? So that's how competitive it is for you to get your meeting space. You're competing against people who are allocating significant sums for these mid to small size events. And just here, and just from China, it makes up 3,750 of those. So you're looking at 40% of the market is driven by China-based sourcing, leveraging just through Cvent system, let alone the manual processes. So instead of using or considering as a trend, instead of using an internet search and something general, or maybe a business card for that you've spoken to somebody at a venue, all of those venues, 4 or 5-star properties, convention bureaus, they're all on the system. We've spent, I don't know how much money, but many, probably billions of dollars over the years, developing a refined search engine. Instead of blue links, you have visual based, right? These venue sourcing tools are a one-stop shop. Convention bureaus are listed here. Destinations are listed here. Profiles of hotels are built out here, even richer than some of their own websites. So you can see the floor plans, the layouts, narrow down your search in a much faster time, because you're not just competing against myself, it's everybody wants that venue space. So once you've done that, you can create a competitive RFP inside the system instead of on a separate Excel spreadsheet. So when your management is asking you, how's that process going? How's that sourcing going? You have line by line comparison. You can go so granular. And this is the same level of technology that's being used by some of the biggest companies. Now it's available en masse to organizations of all sizes. Our goal is, if we help you with the right technology, it'll better arm you for better buying power, better negotiation with the vendors, with the AV partners, so that you can negotiate in a much more dynamic way. The last two trends, I did mention this before, is we've developed a sustainable kind of culture, not because it's popular, but it's just something that's been in our nature. The amount of waste that is created specifically from events, and I'm sure you've all seen this, is wild. But now, recently, another media entity gave an interview with the head of sales for Marina Bay Sands here in Singapore. This is just my market, so I do feel it is something good to share. And they started down that sustainability journey 11 years ago, and they did share something with us about it's having a difference between a target and having a difference between something that is mandated. Is that we all have constraints, right? As long as everybody is doing their bit, then you can't help everybody, but everybody can help somebody. So thinking about things of organizations and who are bringing sustainability and accessibility, that typically means a framework. That typically means government as well. The government in this part of the world is actually so focused on this because they see these impacts from climate in a much more exacerbated way. So thinking about having a policy and organization adhering to it, it used to be a compliance measure and ticking boxes. Now it's nice to know that the event that I'm using doesn't, has sustainably sourced paper. It's nice to know that we don't need plastic sleeves and that we've developed reinforcements so that it lasts longer, that it's dynamic, non-ink based printing. These are all tools that are now before reserved for companies with larger budgets, but through smart technology and our global network, we're able to bring these to businesses of all sizes. And the majority of our customers leveraging this stuff are actually think tanks and nonprofits. So there's no excuse, in essence, apart from compliance, how you can meet those sustainability options. So if you're an organization that has green initiatives, and you want to look into these kinds of, reduction of single-use plastic, sourcing venues that are equally, that have been certified as better on waste management, better on dynamic on food sourcing, using, maybe not, using smart cutlery and so on. All of these tools before was a massive cost. Now it's just part of doing business. And if your end customer has that requirement, the luckiest part is all the new venues that have sprung up here in this part of the world have already been built with these green initiatives. So they're not having to convert, they've already got them. So we as the organization benefit. Talking about inclusion on the last mile is, I'm standing at 5'11", right? So, but not every, but for example, if a person were in a wheelchair or they have visual, ailments, for example, is we have to look at it from different heights, different visuals, different accessibility, but don't see it as a negative. We're doing so many events in Malaysia, we're doing so many events in Indonesia outbound, or powering them through our technology, where, people want to transport their comfort with them. So you want to give them a meal that they want, not what's just locally available. So instead of people traveling with food that they, know that they can consume, if it's halal or if it's vegetarian options, now all of these are actual draws to countries. So as people start thinking about accessibility from visuals, from food, all of these different opportunities are something that you should consider. Now, I do want you to take a moment and I do want you to consider this as well, as there's so much going on in terms of capturing data, specifically around carbon footprint and waste management. We've identified it into these 5 areas. So food and waste is an easy one because we love eating food in Asia. Travel and transport, we have some of the best logistics, at least in this part of the world. Accommodation and space, the amount of new properties that have been built and deployed. So all of these new properties have these opportunities for you. Material waste, there's so many vendors in Singapore that are making use of giving delivery so that you can then have less risk. You have the bin at the end where you dispose of this. So here in Singapore, what we're doing for our event, not hijacking from Pata, everything on here that you're seeing is part of our event. We did this the first time last year in July 12, calculating all the carbon footprint through smart data capture, working with vendors so they can do recycling waste. Even the goodie bags, we were giving away potable tree planting and no more, plastic badges and so on. Even the post-event, they gave us the total cost of and the carbon offsets that we had purchased. So if we're an event technology company and we can power this, and our HQ is in America with our regional lead in Singapore, and we can deliver all of this for a one-day flagship show, there's no reason that you can't. As you can see on the presentation here, there's simple ways to make your events more accessible. Right? You'll be able to think about things from tools now. So venues are now listing things like mobility devices. They're listing things like accessibility of rooms. All of these tools are now available, and how we display that information is directly through the smartphone. So you'll be able to see all of these different options, and do they need for their visuals? Do they need closed caption or subtitling? We have a specific type of color matching for people who have visual impairments. So we are doing all the ugly stuff so that organizations don't have to take that risk. You have a turnkey offering around these 6 big trends. I'm just going to take a quick sip of water before I cover the last one. So ladies and gentlemen, look, we are all under pressure for costs, right? There's different benefits of different locations that are competing. Right here in Asia, the market is spoiled for choice. Doing an event in Bangkok, doing an event in Singapore is a completely different cost structure and a completely different experience, right? So maybe there's different types of hospitality in different parts of the world. So common concerns are venues are up because they're super busy, right? Of course, right? Transportation and logistics costs. These are all things to factor in. So what I'll give you is my kind of take on this. I think, be careful what I say, I think it's great that hotels are making money. I think it's fantastic that I go to Changi Airport and just come back and I'm going again tomorrow, but it's busy and that flights are there. Because just remember, 4 years ago, exactly this week, if you remember how the world was, you do a search for this date 4 years ago, you will see, like, I think oil was $0 a barrel. That's not healthy, right? Even if it sounds good. Hotels, hospitality, zero, right? Events, zero. That is not a healthy ecosystem, right? Losses were massive in the many billions. Now the market is back. What has happened in that time, and how do we benefit and you benefit from, say, slightly higher costs? There's so many more new properties that have been developed. Just here in Singapore, Mandarin Oriental and Hyatt have gone through massive refurbishments. Marina Bay Sands is building its 4th tower, right? Mondrian Hotel launched, I think a new Icon Hotel launched. Pullman launched its first property in the Edition Hotel. That means more space. That means more unique venues. That means more hotel rooms. That's good for business. That's good for us. Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, they're all bringing in new hotel brands that are coming into the space. So this is a great time for more on demand. We just have to see these as partners, not enemies. And it's important that they make money so that there's great properties and venues for us to enjoy. There's great logistics and travel and new routes open, more opportunities for meetings and events planners. It's probably the last slide, and last 2 slides, really appreciate the opportunity to share these 6 big trends, and we will recover them at the end. But all the data before used to be separate in silos. Now, everything on your smartphone or everything on your tablet, you can have a 360 understanding of the total events program that you're running, real-time access to the reporting, which are the insights that you get, and the system can crunch those numbers for you, integrate it with other business systems if that's part of yours. And if you want to show ROI, if you want to compete against other vendors, we need to speak in the language of business. Events planners, we always want the best. Best backdrop, best food, best location, best logistics. Of course, those things cost money. The people who sign the checks, they don't think that way. They think in ways of what's the ROI. So if we can present you with data that you are then presenting to them, to show them why this event matters, why it drives bottom line business, why meetings, events, corporate travel in this part of the world is so vibrant and so important to getting business done, you'll be able to stay ahead of these trends. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is my best way of condensing 25 years of what Cvent has been doing into my allotted time slot. I hope I've saved a little bit of time for questions. But the last slide here is Partner is one of my first clients in Thailand with a real vision for this part of the world. Apart from a transaction, we've been partners with them for a couple of years now. I speak at each of these. I come to their awards, and it's wonderful that they're championing this. What Cvent is committed to is this part of the world providing the latest technology so that you can help with different challenges that you have around your event. Rather than me go through all of the brilliant offerings that we have, my contact details will be available, and I'm happy to partner you with one of our consultants. You can have a discussion about challenges you're facing. Really keen to answer any questions. Thank you, Pata, for hosting me.
Thank you so much, Harsha. That was an amazing presentation, really, really insightful with all those trends. Really excited for any questions from the audience that we have here today. So once again, if you do have any questions for our expert, Harsha, you can ask them directly through the Q&A box. Right now, I have a couple of questions to kick us off. And so I think you mentioned ROI right at the end of your presentation, and that really caught my eye. And because one of the main questions we were asking right from the start was basically, will costs come down and will budgets loosen up a little bit? So what are you seeing for 2024? Are costs going to remain the same as they are right now? Are they going to go up? Are they going to go down? What's happening?
I really need to be very careful what I say, because I really think that it mustn't always say it's something generic, that it's a case-based system. But there's countries that have come online post-COVID for their events, and they are so aggressive about attracting business. Now, Singapore is going to win more than its fair share often because of the infrastructure and because of the track record and the way in which organizations like STB has aligned things like grants and also the venues and so on. And certain formal types of events are very prevalent here. But for certain experiential events like wellness, you need to have a culture of that in your thing. So we're seeing events in Malaysia, we're seeing events in Thailand that are really suited to that market. Now, if you have smaller spaces, can you do a 300,000 person event, right? Without planning that far in advance, right? Or do you have certain size constrictions? So when it comes to the budgeting and side of things, I think corporates, what we are seeing generally, whether it's ROI or not, is people are doing smaller format events. Before, a 2-day congress was 2-day conference or something with a dinner was normal. Now I'm seeing people condense that into 1 day. So that impacts the cost that they do. So they don't have to hire the venue for as long. But that's how they're saving money. They're changing the format versus doing a 2-3 day mega congress. Certain events require it with an expo, but I don't see hotels putting their rates down anytime soon. What you have to do is I was in London, you just walk through the lobbies of these nice hotels and you'll see the LCD board with all the brands that are doing their events there. So, and same in Singapore, same in Hong Kong, around the region. So I wouldn't hope that you could save money in that way. What I think you can do is maybe you can do smarter things like, one of the big pet peeves of mine is that people are sourcing too late, right? They're coming in last minute, give me 3 quotes. That's, it's 2024. If you want to get the best rates, you have to be thinking 1 year in advance, right? And make decisions and allocate budgets and then work with the vendors and the AV partners there in this ecosystem to say, hey guys, maybe we have dynamic pricing. And I've seen this where we say we will put X number of events with a certain hotel chain over the next 18 months. How we split that budget, and what we allocate it to, we need to see you as partners. That way we can do business long term. So don't feel it's going down, but I feel that maybe the events have to get more, they really have to show a better ROI around the outputs that they get, not just the inputs in terms of cost.
Okay.
Hope that answered the question a little bit.
Good answer. Good answer to a rather difficult question, because we don't want to generalize here, but I think you did cover quite a lot of bases. We do have a question from the audience, and it's a really interesting question.
Please.
So it is anonymous, but does TEP, so the
Total Events Program, yes, please.
right? does it have a function to help planners with risk management, especially when with regarding the destinations? So like extreme weather, the rise in natural disasters, increased geopolitical tensions. I know Dubai recently had
Yeah,
had an
sure.
incident. There was also like a crypto event happening in Dubai at the same time. So
Sure.
a lot of that event was actually severely impacted. So what would Cvent do to support in that situation?
So I can tell you, so we have an office in Dubai as well. And what we need to understand, I think the best risk management, what we've seen is in the US, we have partners that do event insurance, right? So during the registration process, it actually has a hedge where you can actually purchase something. So that's not for the planner, that's for the people who are booking the flights and the attendee base, because their investment for an individual, $3,000-4,000 in flights and accommodation, everything is a personal cost, right? But for the planners, you've already sunk the cost into the venue and all the other standard challenges. So I think you're going to see a lot more things like event insurance being taken seriously, and there are vendors now that do this. It's how it's integrated into registration. Things like freak weather conditions and so on it's from the planner's point of view is we need to, that's an ability where you can pivot the event into something like a virtual experience, right? And say, hey guys, listen, there's nothing like meeting and having the meal and so on. You don't get the free food. But I've seen clients do, and this was a big logistics company where they had to change and pivot. This is the beginning of COVID, and everybody got delivery food, very fantastic catering, not just for the CEOs, but even for the regular employees for this large scale town hall. And that's an internal event. So it doesn't have any commercial output. So they used it as a team building opportunity for thinking, right, okay, zero is not an option. Doing nothing is not an option. Just getting our marketing comms is there. But as a business, if you get hit by something like that, there is force majeure contracts. I can tell you personally, we're one of the larger players, probably the largest player in the world in the market for event technology, I'd like to think. So when situations happen, it's about thinking, what we do is we say, hey guys, if you're reworking the event date, maybe we can give you an extension on your contract. Practical things, right? Maybe we can give you some offsets there's lots of things that can be done to mitigate the costs and the risk impact. But when freak weather conditions happen, I think it's really pivoting to a different format just for the communication side, but there will be a commercial loss. And that's based on how you structure the contract. I can tell you there's one client of ours that uses our sourcing system, and unless a certain beverage brands are stocked in the hotels, they don't award RFPs to them. So like their way of managing risk is thinking about, right, even what are the contents and the goods and the food there, because we don't want people to use, they should be using our brand, right? And so negotiating contracts that are much smarter, longer duration, and factoring these things in is, it's a never-ending challenge, and I think it's one of those ones where there's no real good answer. It's just if the venue treats you as a partner, then they understand that you've gone through risk and that some cost will have to happen.
Yeah, no, but I really love that answer because it's so well-rounded. You talked about event insurance for the attendees. You talked about making sure that your partnership with the venue, as well as partnership if you're using Cvent, is strong so that you can kind of like have a negotiation then come out of a bad situation as
it's never zero
because
and the way it used to be and how some, just to put it out there, is the beautiful part about software, hopefully, and servicing is it's still a reputation business. Events are a reputation business. So if you are cut and dry, yes, no, you will be treated very quickly, yes, no, out of the market, right? So, and then people never forget a bad experience typically, or they tell people about it. So for me, I want to have business hopefully with people for years. Right. So it's because they're going to do another conference next year and next year. So we want to be seen not as always a partner and a vendor, but someone who's like, let's grow together. We will eat, you will eat, and let's be good hosts. And some things are hard costs and it's business. And then some, maybe we're extra generous. We'll see how it lays. So but it's just, I guess the market will always find a way to get business done. Let's see how it lands.
Absolutely.
Please, yeah.
No, but I love that. I love that attitude. It's like, let's grow together. It's a rising tide and float all boats.
Sure.
So as we wait for more questions from the audience, and of course for our audience, please feel free to ask Harsha any questions that you have. I wanted to ask one of my own questions, which was something that you hinted at, and I think it will be a really nice way to talk about inspirational things in the event industry,
Okay.
because this idea of immersive event experiences, and I'm
Okay.
sure you go for many events,
Sure.
you've seen some amazing things. I wanted to ask you, what was the most amazing thing that you've seen? What was the most popular or trending immersive experience that event planners are looking at right now?
So this was an event, I can't tell you what it is because this is one where you're not supposed to tell that you've been to it, but I can tell you there's some cool things.
Sounds exclusive.
So it's a little exclusive, not for, no bragging, but it's my mother-in-law's got me an invite anyway. So this one, I saw things there where, and this is just a little thing, like there's lots of things happening there, robots and other bits and pieces, but for example, this is, a badge as you'd expect, right? So I've been to events where they've taken tree leaves that have fallen, right? Recycled them into paper, right? Laser etched your name onto them, right? And then put a natural gum-based adhesive. Now I'm a little bit of a geek in this because I'm part of the team that, manages the on-site services for badge printing and all the other cool stuff that we've got. So when I saw that, I was like, guys, that shows you the depth of creativity, which we don't think. Everyone else is like, is it 4x6? Is it blue? The game has changed. So it's about imagination now. We've got partners, for example. This one I can probably tell you about. There's a company called PhotoTap. It's in the US, but it's distributed around the world. They've developed, I think, these little labels which you can stick onto badges or onto wristband or something. And then as people take photos across the event, these larger scale festivals, geo-tracking, but in an opt-in way, I think it allows people now to see all the photos where they were taking place at that, projected around the specific sessions. So what we're seeing more of as well, and there's vendors that have got this, it's not us, so I won't give them any free advertising, but there's some really cool things where they do networking where it's not just touch-based, but it's proximity-based. And if you see the Coldplay concert, you see if you're in different parts of the room, it goes red and yellow according to DHL. That used to only be for megacorps, right? But now because of SaaS and software, it's now I won't say the cost has collapsed out of it, but people are using their own devices for the same tracking. So they get that same level of activation where there's too many people in that room, there's a ping, there's free ice cream in this room. So these are little things where, and if you want to see the best, in my opinion, where all the best event tech is first premiered is always in Las Vegas. It's always in Las Vegas. They do, so many things around heat-based mapping, activations. I've even seen like in lifts, when you get into the lift there's a bar inside the lift. So there's a lot of cool things where experientially, it's not just on the day, it's really, yes, budgets matter. And the people that are doing these events, the organizations, the Jack Mortons, the free people who are doing these mega experiential, the end client gives them the mandate to have that creativity. So we love being involved in those because it's not just about launching a new car or a new watch or something. It's really showcasing, but in a thoughtful way. So I've seen things like customized eating, menus with your own family names on it, augmented reality. I won't take the whole meeting, but when I was just in London, I won't give the brand either, but there's certain types of glasses, not the ones that we all think there's a brand you haven't heard of, I would bet. And I saw this thing where, it's £189. There's no way that you can't afford, I mean, really, businesses can afford to think about that now. So layering in smart, information onto the lens so that when you go to an event, you can hear what they're, certain, hey guys, the blue room, the meeting is starting. So it's not too intrusive. And the input mechanism is based on voice. So instead of you typing something, which is, we've all got that and we've all experienced, you can say, hey guys, what's the next session that I should attend? I'm a bone doctor. These are the sessions that I'm not interested in. And these are the ones that I'm kind of interested in. And then it'll give you the recommendations, which blue room to go to. So when you see that, you're like, in another few years, that will become available, to people. Before now, it's only reserved, once again, as always, on budget. But you'll see customized food, optionality, geo tracking, but in a much more playful and elegant way, less scary, layering in with augmented reality. So if you have that appetite for those kinds of things, I'm still talking to, the market where it's like, guys, you haven't even picked a venue yet. Let's get the basics right. So, but it's a super exciting time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would be, there's a lot of, the last thing, I won't ramble on this. I know there may be some other questions, but we've built an open architecture. So our system means that we play well with others. We're not closed. So we've got technology where I speak English, they hear Mandarin, or they hear, or for panel discussion, or partners that do that. Input for AI. So you can ask the questions inside sessions. So all of these things, it doesn't just have to be us, but if it's unified and it works well, then everybody benefits. And the
I
people
love that.
who think that way will, we'll do better and better events. It won't be a gimmick. It'll be a normal thing.
I love that. It's truly the future of events, and it's happening here, it's happening now, it's happening in our lifetime. I
Sure.
absolutely love that. And it also makes the world a more connected place in a good way. So, for example, when you said like I speak English and they hear Mandarin, that's amazing because it would be able to solve so many barriers, so many language barriers and accessibility barriers. And so
that one as well is not just that's real. That's already done. We're doing the event where before you'd have to, and I don't want to get people out of work, but if you have two interpreters on 30-minute rotation because their voice will get tired, right? They have to rotate. And if you have 5 languages, it's 10 people, right? So now there are events when you're talking about, say, science, government, high level where the word translation, 100% accuracy is minimum, and there's tonality and there's deeper meanings. You need people in that. But if you're doing a general session on something, and you may, before you'd have to do, say, 5 events across the region, you could potentially just do one, but put more resources into it, have the translation, and everybody benefits. So it's a great time. It's never been it used to just be, can you do registration and print a badge? Now it can be, really an activation for a business, like we need to put more resource into this. So you may see some of these things at our July 12th event. You may not, if you're invited. So I'll leave that to our Cvent marketing team, who I'm sure they dialed in as well. But yeah, it's an exciting time to be the host. And, thank you for, I need to take another sip, but I think it's, it's really great that you're putting on these kind of these webinars so we can share what we've heard from the market.
No, it's really exciting to hear what you're sharing and what you're experiencing out there as well. I think we have time for one last question. So I'm going to ask you like a round-up question, which is basically, if there was one thing you wanted our audience to take away from today's presentation, what would that be?
Oh, gosh. So two things. One, looking to see event. No, but the priority here is that I want to see event planners get paid more money. That's not something that I can, appreciate, but I want to see this isn't a sector where it gives so many people a chance from so many different backgrounds. So you've got hospitality, you've got venues, you've got events, organizing. It's one of the most stressful jobs in the world, probably top 5, top 10 stressful jobs in the world. So we need to invest, or not we as an industry, but everybody needs to think about allocating resources and having people, hopefully better compensated so that they can do well, right? Because the best ideas always raise, and then the countries that invest in those industries and sectors will do better. So my main takeaway is do that. And the way in which you get paid more money is you have to launch initiatives in your organization. And this is one of the first things they taught me in my job, the job I was doing for this before when I was working at a search engine. Is the people who get promoted are the ones who launch initiatives, because your job is expected of you. So if you can bring new initiatives, new ideas, have that kind of sandbox approach where you can try, maybe you don't start with AI, maybe you just start with, badge printing or something, I don't know, but maybe you start with something that is tangible, that has a better output, better experience. New ideas is what's going to drive change and, help you then charge the margins that you need to grow your business. So yeah, just a little bit of a culture of experimentation. That's what I'd like to see, and if we can be part of that, we'll continue to be.
Thank you. That was a brilliant answer. I think like you spoke really directly to the people as well as to the industry as a whole with that answer. We love that.
Sure.
Yeah. Harsha, it's been wonderful to have you today. We have come to the end of our Q&A session. So it's time to say goodbye to our audience, but for our audience, please do bear with me. I have a couple of announcements from PADA that I would like to share with you before we end officially. And I'm just going to bring my slides up here, but we have a couple of events coming up. And of course, as Cvent is our event tech partners, we do work with Cvent for many of our events. The first one that I want to talk to you about is actually the PATA Gold Awards. The PATA Gold Awards has been running since 1984, and it's essentially an industry award to honor and celebrate businesses in the Pacific Asia Travel and Tourism Association. It is proudly sponsored by Macau Government Tourism Office, and we want to sincerely thank them for our support. PATA Gold Awards. Yeah. So the PATA Gold Awards is open now for submissions, and the submission deadline is April 30th, which is in a couple of days' time. So please, if you want to, please do jump on this opportunity this year to apply for the PATA Gold Awards and receive recognition for the good work that you are already doing. On top of that, we also have another award called the PATA Face of the Future. This award is really to highlight commitment to human capital development, and PATA annually presents this special award to an exceptional rising star in the industry. Could I have my Face of the Future slide? Yes. Okay, so for all recipients of this prestigious award has really exhibited initiatives and leadership to advance tourism. And the application deadline for this particularly is May 31st. So you have a little bit more time for this. Do take a look at our website. The QR code is there for you to scan if you want to see whether or not you're eligible for this. Next up, our events. The PATA Annual Summit happening super soon is coming right up. It is May 15th to 17th, 2024 in Macau, China. So for the PATA Annual Summit, bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. It is happening super soon, and we're very excited to see everyone there. For the next event, we are going to have our PATA Travel Mart in Bangkok, Thailand. This is going to be our signature PATA event. It is happening on August 27th till 29th, 2024. And this is going to be in our own hometown, Bangkok. So please do come and join us for an excellent B2B event here. The early bird discount to secure your booth is expiring very, very soon on May 10th. So please do take note of that. Last but not least, we also have the PATA Destination Marketing Forum 2024. This is happening in November 12th to 14th in Cha Am, Thailand. So the PATA Destination Marketing Forum is one of our most fun events where you get to experience the destination itself. And we are very, very excited for everything that we have lined up in 2024. And of course, it's great to see you online, but we hope to see you there in person. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is Paul's contacts if you want to talk to Paul. And we just want to say thank you to everyone who made this possible, to our members, our partners, our executive board, our board, and our chapters, the entire PATA community that is all around the globe supporting us. It's only because of you that we can achieve things like this. So thank you very much, and thank you for tuning in to today's webinar. Goodbye.